hallucinate differently. You know what I mean? All right. The man who lost it all for a house. For over 20 years, viewers have tuned into grand designs to see ambitious home building projects that usually go a bit over budget. In 2019, an episode of the beloved show left viewers shocked and was dubbed the saddest episode ever. This is an M HUD special, chat. Let's see if it's good. Edward Short's dream of building a massive modern lighthouse in North Devon turned into a nightmare when his vanity, greed, and stubbornness got the better of him.
One of the most disastrous and gut-wrenching episodes of the beloved home in...
Immediately, I miss the Aussies. I hear that Aussie language, and I go, oh, I miss my boys. You know what I mean? It's like it's like they're here, mate. It's like they're right here next to me, mate. The Aussies. It's like, Alexa, Alex, Nor, where are you?
Improvement TV genre. There's something almost universally appealing and satisfying about watching a home renovation and seeing the big reveal. But this episode of Grand Designs that aired in 2019 left viewers shocked and was dubbed the saddest ever. For those who don't know, Grand Designs is a popular British show that first aired in 1999 and is still going strong in its 23rd season currently. It follows amateur builders who are often in over their heads as they take on the ambitious task of building a unique home. The show is also famous for its charismatic presenter Kevin MacLeod, who is known for his poetic monologues, passion for great architecture.
Wait, isn't Kevin MacLeod? Oh no, that's Kevin MacLeod. I was thinking isn't that the guy who makes the fucking music, like this copyright-free music for YouTube? I was wrong. Oh no.
As well as his occasionally brutally honest opinions.
M. Glimpse? What a name.
In 2008, Edward Short, his wife Hazel, and their two young daughters, Lauren and...
What's up with Aussies wanting to do long form? Well, I guess it's not super long, but what's up with Aussies doing these YouTube essays of fascinating moments of culture? It's very internet historian. Do you root? You say MacLeod as well? Oh. Wallaby Tube, Outback Slate, Outback Slice of Life. Let's keep going.
And Nicole moved from London to the picturesque North Devon for a sea change. Edward was a veteran of the music industry. He had worked with stars like Elton,
just like Kevin MacLeod,
John, and Van Morrison, and released several popular music compilation CDs. Hazel decided to leave her career as a fashion buyer to spend more time with her kids and embrace a slower pace of life. The family had always loved the beach, so Edward and Hazel purchased a property right on the cliff in the village of Croyd. The Short family were thrilled about their idyllic new life. They could gaze out at the stunning ocean views whenever they wanted and had private access to the beach where they enjoyed jumping off the rocks, kayaking, and fishing together.
Okay, jumping off the rocks seems like an incredibly dangerous hobby. It's like, hey, I love dying for my hobby. Also, the sexiest beach in England.
After a few years, Edward and Hazel decided that their plot of land deserved a more special and dramatic house. Their current house, which was built in the 1950s, was still very solid and had served the family very well. But Edward had a vision of an Art Deco mansion with a lighthouse-like tower. He drew inspiration from the luxury villas of Ibiza where he worked in the 90s and dreamt of building a modern palace that would match the drama of the landscape. The couple decided to place their entire life savings into the project. Architect Alan Phillips, fresh off a collaboration with the U2 frontman Bono, was hired to bring Edward's vision to life. The house would be situated as close to the edge of the cliff as possible for the ultimate drama factor. But the location presented many challenges. The crumbly sandstone cliffs are exposed to strong winds and rain, making the build...
Bro. What's next, dude? You're gonna build a fucking nuclear reactor there? Especially if it's sitting gently on top of a fault line. You know what I mean? How dumb. Good thing my favorite country in the world, Japan, would never do such a terrible thing.
Building site exceptionally dangerous. The fees from the architect, engineers, geological surveyors, and other professional consultants totaled £250,000.
I do like looking at Ibiza, like looking at some of the most beautiful and best weather conditions, like some of the most beautiful fucking like areas that people travel to from all around the globe, and going, what if it was Ibiza, but instead dull, grey, uggo, and you can't really swim in the water, right? Fucking hell. The water is like fucking cold. There's weird fish in it, right? A bit rocky, yeah? Ibiza, but rocky. Can't fucking do it. Can't get in there.
Gobsmacked, noted that some people's entire builds cost that much.
Full of sewage.
To ensure the house wouldn't topple over into the ocean, the foundations required 25 large piles driven into the sandstone, securely anchored to the hard bedrock. Hundreds of tons of steel framework would be required to support the vast concrete structure. The house would have 6 bedrooms, including a 4-story glass tower for the master suite with a storm observation room at the top. The extravagant home would also boast a guest suite, a cinema, an 18-meter-long infinity pool, and triple glazed floor-to-ceiling windows built to with.
Oh, you know you gotta put a fucking, what is that called? A suicide pool or whatever? What's that called? Infinity pool. Why did I say suicide pool? I don't know. Whatever. You know you gotta put one of those. Oh, might as well be called that. I mean, here it is a suicide pool, but in other situations it's an infinity pool. But you gotta put that, dude, because you know why? Because you can't get enough fucking water.
Withstand gale force winds. Almost every room in the house would have wide, uninterrupted views of the ocean. The idea was that as the sandstone naturally eroded, the piles would gradually become exposed.
There is literally nothing funnier than doing this in England. Like, I'm not getting over this. I can't get over this because the water you're looking at is shit. Like just move to Ibiza, brother. You spent more money. It's so fucking dumb doing this, and like the water you're looking at is England.
Giving the illusion of a house hanging from the cliff. A new cantilevered bridge would also need to be built into the cliff for the driveway which accessed the main road. Edward and Hazel believed their massive coastal palace would take just 18 months to build. The total budget for the project was £1.8 million, which was on top of the $1.4 million they had already spent on the existing house and land. Kevin asked the couple how much money they were borrowing and from whom, but Edward and Hazel skirted around the question. Unfortunately.
Okay. This is so old school in many respects. Like, this is categorized under the same exact, like, old school ass, like, Victorian era bullshit. You know what I mean? Like a family that was struck by a curse. One madman on a mission. Like, to build the unbuildable. Like, they literally, this is super old school. Just like trying to build like this idiotic thing because of your hyperfixation. I categorize it under the same vein as like billionaire explorers. Like the Ocean Gate situation was in many ways nearly identical to things that had happened before. Like rich fail sons this one was just like rich people, but usually like rich fail sons fucking doing like peak British adventure and then dying in like an elephant tumbling incident. You know what I mean? It's awesome. It's a tale as old as time itself. Yeah, it's a tale of hubris. It's Icarus. It's all of that. and seeing it, elephant tumbling, like an elephant like stomped on them was what I was trying to say.
At the start of 2012, a deep financial crisis and recession was being predicted in the UK. As a result, banks began restricting lending. The provisional agreement Edward had with his bank crumbled, and he was forced to put the build on hold. Edward's income relied on CD sales, but by this point, CDs had all but disappeared from shelves. The kids had already started packing up their belongings, and even put on bake sales and car boot sales to raise money for their parents. But their efforts were futile because the project could not progress for over 2 years. Fast forward to May 2014. The Grand Design's cameras have returned for a check-in. Edward has come up with an alternative plan. He borrowed £500,000 from a hedge fund to build a much smaller 3-bedroom house at the other end of the plot, with the intention of then borrowing against it to continue the lighthouse build. This part of...
Dude, I love this. Also, my second favorite dumb rich guy shit is, hey, you got a dumbass idea? You got a really dumb idea, dumb? Go to a hedge fund. Like, why are they giving him any money? Why are rich people giving other dumbasses money over incredibly dumb things? Who was like, oh, dude, this is awesome. Yeah, this guy is over leveraging himself, but it's just like, it's so stupid that like a bank was like, no, this is smart. I don't see anything bad here.
Of the land was also made up of crumbly sandstone, so progress was slow. 21 months later, Kevin MacLeod returned to North Devon for a visit, not to see the lighthouse, but the smaller house, which Edward and Hazel called the Eye. It was only partially built, but even with the shell of a house, Edward now had an asset and was able to secure a loan of £2.5 million from private investors at an 8% interest rate. Edward said he was hoping to sell the finished house for the same amount of £2.5 million, which clearly shocked Kevin MacLeod, who believed they had completely overpriced it. But they had no choice. Edward and Hazel had sunk all of their money into the building project and were relying on the huge gamble of being able to sell the Eye for £2.5 million. A hint of tension could be detected between Edward and Hazel as they discussed their progress with Kevin. But at last,
the point of chat is this. Say something. You think nobody else sees it. But unlike the fucking Eye, it's bloke's life. This eye sees all. Palantir, mate. Soren's all seeing eye. Fucking Palantir, mate. Like a VB long neck in the morning. Fucking downing you. Staring at you like you're a beautiful Sheila. About to drink it all, fair dinkum. Heaps of VB long necks I'll be I'm fucking so stupid. All right, we're done.
last, Edward had the money to begin work on the main house. In February 2016, the demolition of the family's 1950s house marked the beginning of construction of their brand new dream home. The couple's passion was back, and their daughters, now teenagers, could barely contain their excitement. The family moved into a nearby rental house, ready to move into their mansion in just 18 months. However, the very first stage of the build, the excavation, took 6 months longer than planned, due to the very hard blue slate bedrock, which required specialized equipment and much more work than anticipated. The unexpected challenge in this very first stage of construction had eaten through the entire contingency budget. Absolutely nothing could go wrong from here on. But delays continued to plague the project. The highly exposed site made working conditions very dangerous. Strong winds meant that cranes could not be safely used, and work had to...
Remember that, like, those dog shit conditions is also what he's, like, looking at and going, oh, how beautiful. Like, this is what I want to experience every day. Like, he spent this much money for an area that is so inhabitable that, like, you can't really use cranes and shit.
to stop once again. In October 2016, Kevin MacLeod returned to observe the completion of the steel frame for the lighthouse tower and the concrete structure of the infinity pool. As Kevin toured the build site and took in the breathtaking views, he was reminded of just how potentially spectacular the house would be when completed.
Yeah, it's such an LA guy take. That's why that fucking coastline is blossoming with real estate, you know? That's why it's so normal to build there that if you notice, if you look, 100 miles in one direction and 100 miles in the other fucking direction, all you see are houses on the coast. Like, what do you mean? Sometimes there's a reason why no one is built there, okay? It's like one of the most popular holiday places in the UK. Oh my God. That is the saddest thing I've ever heard. Stop. Oh my God, bro. This shit makes Ohio look exotic, okay?
Edward revealed it was highly likely they would go over budget, but refused to compromise on any aspect of the design.
Like, I'd rather fucking go to Toledo than look at this situation where it's like the wind and rain is just like pissing on my face all day.
The smaller house next door, the Eye, was now almost complete and the pressure was getting to Edward. He admitted he was absolutely terrified and knew full well that there was a chance that the Eye wouldn't sell for the £2.5 million price tag. In February 2017, 70% of the budget was now gone, but there was still just a skeleton of a lighthouse to show for it. The main house was about to face its next challenge, building the driveway, which was cantilevered like a floating bridge with no supports underneath. It required extremely precise engineering and workmanship, which drove up costs, leading to a loan extension of £500,000. In May 2017...
Wait, what's the total at now? Also, M-HUD, you're right, this is a banger. This video is a fucking banger, dude. It's bangers and mash, lad. Which is what we'll be eating for the rest of our fucking lives. Because I've put all of the money in this fucking house that I'm not ever going to be able to live inside of as we stare at the fucking wind and rain. 4 million quid. Are you fucking mental?
Edward decided it was time to list the Eye for sale. But there was one significant problem that prevented
this guy just did the one, but in England.
it from selling for its premium price tag. The fact that it was next door to a large construction site. Edward found himself stuck in a horrific catch-22 situation. He couldn't sell the Eye until the lighthouse was finished. But he couldn't finish the lighthouse because he didn't have the funds he hoped he could get from selling the Eye. It's now February 2018, a staggering 7 years since the project first started. The building site has been closed for 7 months. Edward shows the cameras around the hollow shell of a house. It is
like, dude, I love when my beach destination has wet snow part of the year. You know what I mean? Like this in and of itself, immediately you're like, oh, this was a mistake. Okay? Immediately. This is such a like this phenomena at the quote unquote beach, which is just rocks, by the way, that you fall into and bust your skull open. The family you're building it for has grown up and moved away. I mean, this is just insane. Hasan, winter exists. Yeah, I know. But like, it's significantly more manageable in places where you would build something like this. I don't even like Malibu. I think that is fucking ridiculous. The way that they've built Malibu is silly and stupid. The entire state of Florida is designed and built on swamp wetlands. Is designed to fucking be underwater. Hasan has bad nature takes? No, man. No, I have good nature takes. I believe the greatest thing that man has done is overcome nature. Okay? Every facet of our existence is a fuck you to nature. Now, having said that, I also personally respect nature. And what I mean by that is sometimes you got to leave things alone, okay? Sometimes you have to leave certain aspects of nature alone because if you don't fucking do that, it will swallow you, okay? And you're watching a man refuse to capitulate, and you know it's a failure. Spoiler alert. The fucking title is called The Man Who Lost It All for a House, right? It's not called The Man Who Bought the Man Who Made the Nicest House in England and has a happy life now with a happy wife. That's not what it's fucking called. So you already know what happened. And you're over here still defending these decisions.
Weather damaged and stacks of building materials are scattered around the place. It's a bleak situation. Hazel and the kids are nowhere to be seen. Edward's debts are over £3 million now, but he is still determined to bring his vision to life. He's clinging to the hope that his land, which he had appraised at over £7 million, could give him some borrowing power. Kevin compares him to a gambler who doesn't know when to stop.
Why are you doing an Aussie accent? Because the guy's doing an Australian accent.
The show then jumps to September 2019. Hopeful, uplifting music plays as Kevin delivers a monologue about how it's been 8 long years since the project commenced. He gushes about how stunning the landscape is and his excitement is palpable. As viewers, we're expecting to see the happy family of 4 give us a grand reveal of the completed seaside home, followed by a triumphant tour of its luxurious interior.
Uh-oh.
Cut to a grey, barren, deserted concrete shell. Some windows are boarded up, steel beams are covered in rust, and someone has spray painted the words, "Please finish," on a wall. Kevin MacLeod describes
someone. I wonder who did it.
The scene as a desolate carcass. Edward greets Kevin. Deep wrinkles have set in around his eyes, and the sides of his hairs have grayed. Edward reveals that for 2 years, the house has sat here untouched due to lack of funding. The locals are unhappy with Edward and consider the construction site to be an eyesore on the landscape. Reflecting upon the situation,
I like that this is considered like it was so ago that even British people were like, mate, this is a fucking eyesore, mate. Like, imagine British people having the audacity to consider something ugly, or rather, imagine having it be so fucking ugly that British people are saying it's ugly and an eyesore. An eyesore to what, dude? Cliffs? Look at the fucking, like, look at the jagged edges on those black cliffs, dude. What the fuck? They're like, this is an eyesore, bloody eyesore, mate.
Edward admits he was way too ambitious at the start and should have built something smaller and simpler. But he stood firm in his decision to try and complete the house without compromising on the design or quality.
Bro, adding please into your vandalism is the most British people shit I've ever seen. True.
To Kevin's relief, Edward did have something finished to show. The Eye, located just 100 meters away. The sleek, minimalist house with its spectacular ocean.
Bro, put a fucking jacuzzi instead of the fucking infinity pool.
Views impresses Kevin. But due to the hazardous construction site next door, no one was actually allowed to live in it. Edward estimates that it would cost an additional £2 million to finish the lighthouse, a daunting figure.
Why would anybody ever trust his estimates ever again for the rest of anyone's life? Like, I'd be like, oh, 2 million? Okay, so what you're saying is it's going to cost 10 million. Got it. Like, we know your ass don't know how to count, okay? We know you are the worst at estimates.
That causes Kevin to grimace. Edward also opens up about the toll the project has taken on his personal life. His marriage has collapsed, and he is racked with guilt about letting his pride take over and sink his family into enormous debt. His former wife, Hazel,
no longer happy life, happy wife,
who had done well in her career, was now left without financial stability. Their daughters, Lauren and Nicole, are now grown up and had flown the nest without ever getting to enjoy life in the lighthouse. The episode ends with...
Dude, this is so sad because ultimately, like, please look at this, chat. Like, the daughters didn't get to enjoy life in this White House, or a lighthouse, sorry. Like, this is what they were enjoying. This shit that looks like the La Brea tar pits, okay? Like, dude, every single time I see the England coastline, I understand why they tried to colonize the entire planet, okay? If I had to live there too, I would literally leave and go anywhere else for numerous months out of the year. Anywhere but here, man. English people love that shit. It's not objective. Wait, what? There is no way British people look at this and go, look at it. Look at how fucking lovely. This is my wife, Deborah. Isn't she beautiful? My thing is, just give it up. You know what I mean? You don't have to have everything. Like, you don't have to have like a beachside house. If you're British, okay, and you're like, oh, dude, this is sick. Like, look, we have beaches. Like, you don't have to fake it. You know what I mean? Just give it up. Just don't. I don't know. I don't know why you like. You're like, oh, I can't believe we're gonna have such a wonderful life with our children as they like, you know, have significant disabilities due to the accidents that they had at the jagged rock cliff. You know what I mean? As a child, when they were like trying to jump into the piss and shit water. I'm just saying, like there's no need. There's no need. You can't have it all. Just go to a place where they have that later. But to be fair, all I'm stating is you don't have to badmouth the ocean that bad. All I'm stating is this. I live in Los Angeles. My word is completely irrelevant. Why? Because I live in Los Angeles and I've been to the beach a handful of times in the 10 years that I've lived here. So we actually have nice beaches out here. And even then, I refuse to go. So if I'm not going to fucking Malibu or Santa Monica or whatever and like touching the beach and getting in the ocean, you bet your fucking ass I'm not going anywhere near this shit. Whatever the fuck this tar is over here.
With a flicker of hope, as Edward says he might be able to secure another...
The UK has nice nature. Not every beach needs to be... No, I think the UK has beautiful nature. I'm not even joking. I love the fields. Like, I love when I get on a fucking train. I love looking around and looking at the greenery. It's just that's why I said it doesn't have to be everything. You don't have to have everything. You don't have to have everything. You know what I mean? Like, you can just have what is this? Lighthouse from the saddest ever grand design is back on the market for $7.5 million. Oh, it was complete. They did it. Wait, there's a positive aspect to the story. He fucking did it. He did it. The man who lied.
The lender. And
it's a fucking spoiler! Spoiling ass chatter! What are you fucking doing, mate? You know what's funny about this entire situation? Alex is here right now. She's like, hey, I'm going to be upstairs. I'm going to be writing all day because I want to like pre-write some of the stuff for my articles. So she's probably hearing me fucking screaming downstairs. What do you mean you can't ban me? I 100% can. What are you talking about? Look at this. Look at this. Freaking mods, dude. Yubi doesn't remember, I don't think, when I used to ban my mods all the time. Young Peasy might be next, motherfucker. You better watch it. You understand? Yeah, you fucking heard me, bitch. Just remember.
Certain he'll be able to finish the house. When this episode of Grand Designs aired in October 2019, it left viewers shocked. There have been other episodes where the build doesn't get finished.
You guys get unbanned, UB.
But watching Edward demolish a perfectly good family home, sink himself close to bankruptcy over 8 years, then the demise of his marriage left many calling this the saddest ever episode of Grand Designs. Many viewers were also critical of Edward, believing that it was vanity that drove him to prioritizing a luxury beach mansion above everything else. In October 2022, the Lighthouse saga concluded as Kevin MacLeod returned to North Devon in the highly anticipated Revisited episode. It's been 3 years since Kevin last saw the construction site, and he's cautiously optimistic about whether anything could be salvaged from the project. The house appears to be finished from a distance, and as he approaches closer, he is surprised but thrilled to see a completed and furnished architectural masterpiece. Kevin marvels at the pristine white exterior, comparing it to the whitewashed houses of Santorini. A much happier looking...
Yeah, except not Santorini. This is very important. Nicest beach in Britain. It's actually where you went in Brighton. Yeah, I know. That's what I mean. It's like... That's the whole point, is that, like, here's the thing, okay? The reason why the places that you're bringing up, no one would ever substitute for, like, Brighton, is because it's just not like, it's just not the same. No one is like, oh my God, the beautiful beaches of Brighton. Fucking hell. Like, no one from Spain is traveling to England to go look at this, okay? It's not happening. When you fall on the beach and get a concussion because it's all rocks and no sand? Yeah. Here's the finished building, not in winter, so you might hate it less. Okay, hold on.
Edward greets Kevin and shows him around the light-filled home. As they take in the stunning...
Oh, Aiden's here. Of course. Of course. I think it looks quite nice. You fall on the beach. I'm British. I never fall on the fucking beach, mate. You'll never catch me falling on Brighton Beach. You need to be fucking nimble, yeah? Oh, look, I stun locked them. Yeah. I won this one.
Views of the Atlantic Ocean, Edward proudly confirms that the house is finally finished. He explains that
he got the fuckboy cut too. He got the house finished and he got the fuckboy cut. Wait, is he sitting in the water with his polo
specialist
team?
Loan provider in early 2020 who facilitated the completion of the build. By that point, the local council had issued notices over the unsightly construction site, and bringing back the original contractor, replacing damaged windows, and reviving the steelwork cost a total of £200,000. Kevin compliments every room of the home, and the tour ends in the undeniably amazing storm viewing room at the top of the lighthouse tower, with its nearly 360-degree view of the ocean. But there is an undertone of sadness about...
I love that, dude. I love the storm viewing room. Like, that's fucking sick, dude. Look, to different strokes for different folks. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm thinking like beach house, I'm not thinking like, oh man, that's so sick. I love looking at the storm from my beach house. It can be sick. I'm not even saying it's bad. Like, it can be sick to like experience a storm like that. But when you say it in England, all of a sudden I'm thinking this is a year-round thing. Okay, it's cool they film this on the one sunny day of the year. Yeah, you know they had to wait.
Out it all. The rooms that were intended to be the kids' bedrooms were turned into sparse offices. The grand spaces feel cold and clinical, appearing to be staged with fake plants and generic-looking artwork. It soon becomes clear that the house has not been lived in.
The other part of the problem is like, oh, look at how many windows they have in this house. And you're like, okay, it's great, but like there's no natural sunlight in England. It's like you can put windows everywhere, but ultimately there's no natural sunlight when it's cloudy all the fucking time.
Edward then reveals to Kevin that the kitchen and bathrooms had intentionally been left unfitted. His plan now is to sell the lighthouse and the eye together to clear his enormous debt of £7 million. Edward never got the opportunity to even live in his dream home, and he never would. He came dangerously close to bankruptcy and had put his family through a decade.
Infamously, clouds are opaque and no sunlight gets through that. Oh my God, you fucking nerd. Shut up.
Of immense financial and emotional stress. The original cost estimate for the build was £1.8 million, but the total cost of both houses...
Like, that's the funniest part about this is like, this works perfectly fine. Like, you did not have to break this down. It works perfectly fine. You literally got the same exact fucking view, except like a little bit further away, so it wasn't actually as dangerous. Your takes on this video are turning me into a hate watcher. Yeah, you could have just like renovated the interior a little bit. Maybe bust open some of these fucking walls and like make the windows larger, and you would have been fine. A little sunroof, okay? And my man was like, nope. Because like ultimately you don't change the weather, you don't change the climate, you don't change the environment. Cost $7 million, selling for 7.5, got a 500K profit, lost the entire family, and also significant chunks of his life. You know what I mean? The entire time he could have like literally parked his ass in Ibiza. He could have just gone there, cheaper, sat on it, maybe even fucking flipped it a couple of years down the line to move into something even nicer.
For the build was £1.8 million, but the total cost of both houses ended up being close to $6 million.
Kevin, the host, seemed to have aged 50 years from the start to the finish of this house. Yeah, the host aged even more watching how devastating this was.
Edward and Hazel are now on good terms and have both moved on with new partners. Edward hopes to give Hazel half of any profit made on the sale of the house to restore financial security to her life. Their daughters, now in their early 20s, reflect on the difficult toll the last decade took on their parents, but ultimately are happy to see the house completed and their parents finding some relief. Lauren's Instagram account also features several photos of her with her friends hanging out at the Eye House. In July 2020, the property was listed for £10 million. The Eye was included in the listing as an annex that could be used as a guest house, gym, or music studio. There were some negotiations with a potential buyer in...
I don't think you can comprehend this, but some people actually want to live in England. Not everybody's forced to live there, says Gabe Bowser. Okay, I think I shit on England a little too much. People are now getting actually touchy about it. I'm sorry, guys. England is beautiful, okay? There's a lot of great cities, nicer than many parts of America, okay? Stop being so mad. But also, at the same time, I get why you guys tried to fucking colonize the rest of the goddamn planet, because everybody was desperately trying to fucking leave, okay? I'm just saying. Not very habitable. Okay, chatters, you can't shit on normal British architecture if you're American. By the way, go move one of the 7 cars in your driveway. Your mom has to get to the store. Yeah, I mean, American architecture is dog because it's like even a shittier version of British architecture. Not even British, but...
in February 2023, but unfortunately, it fell through. Despite this disappointment, Edward and his family felt like they could finally bid farewell to the lighthouse chapter of their lives. As of June 2023, the property has still not found a buyer, even after being split into separate houses.
Birmingham. Yeah, this was awesome. this was great. This was a very good video. It makes me want to watch other videos
Today
from this guy. Like, escape prison and repeated his crime, deadly love triangle, hacker's unknown motive, Harvard catfishing mystery, terrifying eBay stalker. They all fake disabilities. The most unethical cheaters in sports history. Lottery lawyers' web of scams. This nun stole from children. What the fuck? What? Okay, what? Worst deals in Shark Tank history. The disturbing tale of race around the world. What is that?